Um, let's start with what war were you in?
I was in the Vietnam War.
Right. Tell us about your family before you left.
Well, it was interesting because I grew up in Sarasota. I graduated from Sarasota High School in 1962. Pretty much graduated the bottom of my class. And had an opportunity to go in the military, never thinking I'd go to college. And I went into the U.S. Navy and served 4 years in the U.S. Navy. Did my deal in there. So, my father had been in the service. He'd been a Marine. And so we'd had some veterans in the background. He was in the Korean War.
What was your rank and branch of service?
I was E4 in the Navy, what they call Petty Officer 3rd Class. I was in the Navy.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted. I would have been drafted because we had the draft back then, but I enlisted.
How old were you when
I was 17. Right before my 18th birthday.
What were your duties in general?
I was in Air Sea Rescue is where I ended up. I spent most of my time rescuing people.
How long were you stationed in Vietnam?
I did 4 different tours in Vietnam. Each tour was between 6 and 9 months, depending. The Navy is different from the other services, and I ended up going over 4 different times flying rescue.
Where did you go to boot camp?
Went to boot camp, Great Lakes, Illinois, and I was in boot camp when John Kennedy got shot. But, yeah, and it was kind of a scary time just joining the military and the President of the United States gets shot. And, we just come off the Cuban military missile crisis and all that, and so your first thought is, oh my God, we're going to go to war. Not even thinking about Vietnam at the time, more concerned about what was happening with the President of the United States and what was going to happen to the country. So, yeah, I was in Great Lakes, Illinois, a Sarasota, Florida boy going to Great Lakes, Illinois in the middle of November. It was cold. It was cold. But we had a great time.
How long were you in boot camp for?
I think boot camp was like 13, 14 weeks maybe, something like that.
What did you do right after boot camp?
Right after boot camp, I went to Millington, Tennessee, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and became an aircraft mechanic. And that was my first duty. And then from there, I went out to California and got trained in rescue, Air Sea Rescue. And then I got attached to military helicopter squadrons after that. Most of the time, I actually worked with the Marine Corps.
Where were you mostly stationed?
Most of the time I was operating off of aircraft carriers, what they called LPHs. They were landing platform helicopters, what the LPH stood for, landing platform helicopter. And the Marine Corps actually owned those aircraft carriers. And though you had a Navy crew operating the boat, it was run by Marine Corps air officers, and they ran the helicopter squadrons, and then we would fly rescue for the Marine Corps.
What aircraft carriers were you on?
A lot of, but most of the time I was aboard the USS Princeton, USS Tripoli, USS Valley Forge, probably 1 or 2 others that I was on and off of, but those were the primary ones.
Did you receive any medals?
You get the normal, what we call GEAT-UP medals, the Vietnam campaign ribbons and those kinds of things. Outstanding service, that type of thing. But, nothing for bravery, nothing for getting shot. I ducked pretty good, so I didn't have to worry about it.
So you didn't have any wounds?
Nope. No.
I think that's it.
That was it?
Yes. Differently from the way you're treated from this war, current wars, and past wars and veterans?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because when I came home from Vietnam, there was a lot of conflict in the country. A lot of the soldiers and sailors literally were getting yelled at and called pigs and baby killers and spit on and protests and all kinds of problems, okay? Because it was a very unpopular war. The people who came home from World War II were seen as the saviors of the free world. And they literally were the saviors of the free world, whether it was America, whether it was Europe, whether Germany, Belgium, it doesn't matter. Wherever they went, they were heroes. Now we have these young people going over to Iraq and Afghanistan, potentially Iran. They're fighting an unpopular war. They're doing multiple tours. And a lot of those people are coming back and suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. A lot of them are having a difficult time. One of the highest unemployment people that we've got as far as trying to find jobs are veterans. They just can't find jobs when they come back. And you can imagine the psychological problems of not being able to support your family, trying to get to know your family again. But the American people right now are welcoming these veterans. Okay? So each war seems to be a little bit different, and I think this war is different from the rest of them. Vietnam, it was one of hatred. World War II, it was one of heroes. This one, it's a state of confusion. We don't quite know how to handle it. So everyone's different depending on the political climate of the people in the country and whether they support the war or not. And that's really what the difference is.